Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So I've got kind of a cool forum thread here to discuss with you today. So this poster here had a idea for making it easier to identify what characters do what in the game. So the forum thread basically is asking if there's a possible way we can replace the class icons with, say, more of a role icon, or at least supplement it in some way. So for those of you who aren't aware, every character, when you group with other people, on the left side of your screen, the character's name, hit points, spell points will show up on the left hand side along with an icon. And the icon is the dominant number. Right now, it'll show the class icon, which is reflective of the dominant number of class levels you have. So if you have, 18 cleric levels and 2 fighter levels, you'll have a cleric icon. If you have 20 paladin levels, you'll have a paladin icon. So whatever class you have the most class levels in, you'll have that icon. But there is a bit of an issue in DDO in that your class icon doesn't necessarily reflect what your character is capable of, what it brings to the table. So, for example, you might have like a bard or a druid that is a healer. You might have a wizard that can get traps. You might have a favorite soul who is not a healer, who just is an offensive caster. So there's a lot of situations where the class icon might be a little misleading, and I think this is a good suggestion of a way to kind of supplement that. So let's just go ahead and read what the initial poster here had to say. So this poster said, in my honest opinion, DDO would benefit immensely from letting players select the icon displayed on their character instead of the class. DDO's biggest differentiator between it and other MMOs is its build flexibility, yet the game persists in showing class as if it's somehow important to what that particular character can do. For example, I've had characters showing wizard were range DPS, melee DPS, etc., etc. So the poster goes on to say, I would dearly love to be able to tell people at a glance what my characters can do by choosing an appropriate icon instead of class. Even a cheap hack that permitted me to show a class icon of my choice instead of the highest level would be an enormous step forward in this regard. Then he goes on to say, showing the main function as the icon with a couple of relevant tidbits as small sub-icons around the perimeter would be great. So he mentions things like off-tank, heals, trapping, and so on. Save effort by permitting main icons to be reused as a sub-icon so a character can show readiness for secondary roles. Okay, and let's continue, because I think that the second poster here kind of had another idea here. This second person suggested maybe a colored border to go around the class icons, and each color would identify what the character can do. So maybe gold for healer, red for trapper, gray for tank, etc. So personally, what I think would be a good idea for this would be to have, instead of just a border, because a border might be kind of hard for people to understand if you're not. I think it's harder at a glance. I think what would make sense is if you would have 2, maybe 3 sub icons at right below the class icon. So it could, for example, you could have a variety of icons, such as maybe a sword for melee DPS, maybe a shield icon for to indicate tanking ability, maybe say like just a fireball or something to indicate AoE DPS, things like that. Maybe like the search icon to indicate that you can get traps. So why would we do this? Why would this be helpful? As mentioned before, the class icons, I think they do a sufficient, an okay job in game, because usually your dominant class icon does reflect what you are capable of doing as a character. So if you have a majority cleric levels and you have 18 cleric levels or whatever, you can pretty much assume that you can heal to some extent. But I think that what this could do is just make it easier for people to identify what the character is bringing to the group, and let people more easily identify what their character is bringing to the group, so they aren't kind of pigeonholed into a certain role like have everyone assume that they are filling a certain role just based on their class levels. So if you want to build a bard that's focused on healing, you could put in a healing icon there. Or if you have a rogue and you don't want everyone to think that you can get the traps, you could not have the like a trap icon there, so that people would know at a glance, you're not a trapper, so don't ask me to do that. Or if your favorite soul who just wanted to offensive cast, you wouldn't be, you could just not put a healer icon there. So the only real downside that I can see to this is the possibility of trolling. But honestly, I don't see that as a major problem because players would really, if you went in and just started to troll raid groups, I think people would figure out pretty quickly what you're doing. And so I don't think that would happen a lot. I mean, most people that would want to engage in this are people who want to make it easier for, say, a raid leader to know what they're bringing to the table, or say a group leader to know. And maybe these sub icons could also show up in your character's profile so you could identify, in and out of game. So I really don't see any major downsides. I mean, if you are, it would help prevent, false expectations, whether that's something you want or don't want. I mean, say, if you don't want to be expected to perform a certain role, you just not select that icon. And I think that would probably de-stress certain players, take the stigma away from certain classes, perhaps. So I really don't see a downside to this. And I think one of the other things with this idea is I can't see it requiring many dev resources. I mean, a lot of ideas that people throw around the forums are things like, that would require mass amounts of hours from DDoS developers. But something like this, just adding, icons to the party, party icons, would this take very long? I mean, I'm not a developer or a programmer of any kind, but I can't see just adding some icons taking that long. So while this isn't that important of an idea, obviously right now we kind of get around this problem in game by just simply talking. Or you join the raid group, you identify what you can do. You say, oh, okay, I'm a wizard. I can CC on this raid. I can CC, in the Vision of Destruction raid. You can, if you're a favorite soul, you can join the group and just say, I'm not a healer, so that people aren't expecting in the raid group or in the group in general to be getting heals from you. But something like this is just I think would be just a little quality of life thing that they could introduce. It doesn't seem like it would be much effort, so sounds like a good idea to me. That's gonna be it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about this topic. Would be interested in reading your comments. As always, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Clorox and Disillusionment, who are decided to support me on Patreon. Thank you very much. Your support is very, very much appreciated to help me keep making these types of videos. And if anyone else here is interested in supporting me on Patreon, you can find a link to that below. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. See you all next time. Have a good one. Take care.